The thing with traumatic brain injury is, like Chris said, it's a hidden injury. You don't really know about it unless you get in to talk to somebody about it, or they tell you certain things. You know, I've got headaches, or I'm seeing spots, or my vision is blurry. I've had people tell me that, you know, things taste differently. I'm tasting more salt. I mean, it's really kind of odd how they manifest themselves, but there's different ways that a traumatic brain injury can manifest themselves. You know, sometimes we deal with major or moderate to major traumatic brain injuries. And even in those types of cases, you know, how do you diagnose it? Well, you know, I've had cases where people have had MRIs, they've had CT scans, and everything looks normal. The brain looks normal. There's no what they call a midline shift where the brain is slid over from one side to the other. There's no bleeding, there's no swelling, but they're demonstrating signs of traumatic brain injury. And so in that sort of a situation, what we do is we send them off to what's called neuropsychological testing. And what it is, it's a battery of tests that people go through. And it tests the way your brain processes things. It tests everything from your memory, long-term memory, short-term memory, processing, problem-solving type things. And then based on this battery of tests, it can show you where the deficits are in your brain activity. But the way when we're typically building up a traumatic brain injury case, we want to get that baseline testing, because most people don't go into an accident with a brain injury and say, oh yeah, by the way, here's my neuropsych testing from 2 years ago that shows I'm perfectly normal. So you have to build a baseline first. You start off with their educational records, their college, high school records, things like that. You start your battery of tests, you find out where the deficits are, and then after 12 to 18 months, things start to level out, and you do another battery of tests. And you can measure the improvement, and then what you're left with, the deficit, is really kind of your brain injury, but it's a process. It's just like when you're building the case from the ground up with the evidence and the surveillance, a traumatic brain injury is the same thing. You've got to build the case from the ground up, which is another reason to get a lawyer involved very early, because we're trained to know those sorts of things and how you build a case like that.